Hey everyone, welcome back to our vlog. I am Joy, also known as Dr. Joy, and we are on, I think, episode eight, seven, eight, I think it's eight. Um, so I'm going to be picking up from some memories and some photos that I started taking a little bit before the Thanksgiving of 2024 up until mm, 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 I'm going to say around February of 2025. So we're getting closer. Right now, when I am recording, I am in 2025, but I'm certain by the time that you see this, it will already be next year. So I wanted to get up early this morning to go ahead and start recording because I've been feeling, I don't know if it's because of the holiday time. I'm in holiday time right now. Just the shift in the air and the energy, just it's been harder for me to actually just get up and record. And I think what's been happening is talking about a lot of the things that I'm now remembering. And it wasn't like it's been a million years since these things have happened, but so many things have happened and so much progression has happened. And you're always falling into new perspective and new viewpoints around your survival, around your peace, and that type of thing. So it can feel odd to tap back into that space and in what's been happening during the other videos. I don't really review the stuff right now. I haven't even started editing everything, but it's like, oh dang, that was really a thing, right? You really move through that thing and just trying to also tap back into the feelings that I had while I was going or while I am going through this whole journey. How much energy I put into it as I was going over looking at some of the photos that I have for today that I just randomly put up. I also found an album where I started making video logs, but like in the moment of being upset, of being devastated, of being disappointed, of finding out this, that, or the other. Because during this time period, which I'm going to identify as like dark night of the soul, okay, for like the past 2 years or a little bit more, um, it just felt like an onslaught, like a wave, like an ocean wave, always coming at me, and I didn't think I was going to get out of it. Really, like, I didn't think I could get out of my mindset. I didn't think I can get out of my depression. I didn't think I can get out of my feeling stuck, right? You have to go through it. I can speak to you about this. And I'm hoping that if you are in the throes of it, you can hear someone say, hey, I've been there. And yes, it does feel, I can identify the fact that you are probably thinking that this is not going to end. It's not the same as yours. This one is pretty bad. No, all of us have, it's bad for us. If it's bad, it's bad. There's no level of bad. Like yours was way worse. Like, no, it's bad. If you're going through it, it's bad, period. Right. It feels devastating to you. But keep your eye on the prize, which is you, your purpose, and your connection, honestly, with, I'm going to say your intuition, with the universe, with God, with spirit, with your ancestors, however you identify. That is definitely something where I feel like if I felt completely alone from any sort of protection, any sort of care, concern, whatever the case may be, if I felt disconnected in that way, I don't know that I would have been able to make it out. Okay. So looking the range of today's videos, it's going to be basically like I've moved out of my house probably a month before this. And so I had the birthday where I don't think I got, my kids didn't contact me, or maybe my son at that point had like maybe contacted me, but there's been parental alienation that's been going on for years. I'm also starting to look at other stuff recently where I'm seeing more and more people who the father of their children, when they ask for child support, which is really how a lot of stuff started from years ago. And the child support case, I filed for child support, wasn't getting any help with these kids all these years, whatever. So anyway, um, it got the case got stopped because my ex was able to contact, because he can contact a lot of people in a lot of different spaces, and it works. He can contact people, he can say whatever he wants, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to pursue it. Like, what do you mean? Like, people just file for child support and then we have a case? Nope. So he did whatever he needed to do to make sure that I was not able to get child support, and so I continued to do what I do, which was work and hustle and grow and take care of the kids, right? um until again I had them move with him. And what is now happening with me living, being able to have a house, being able to sell a house, being able to travel. There was a point where I was probably traveling, God, I don't know, once every other month, right? It would be for work, it would be for growth, it would be for something that was just not like, it doesn't matter what's from. Like I worked, I take care of everything, and we are allowed to travel, right? I want to also practice that, not trying to justify why it's okay for me to be an independent individual human on top of being a mom and everything. I am not one, and especially sitting where I'm sitting right now, who will, I've been through too much. I'm not going to hold that torch of like, I'm the type of mom who like, that's who I am. It's everything. And I could never, and I was a person who was like, I would never let the kids live with you. And you're supposed to live with your mom and da, 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 da. Life happens and you're like, whoa, and you have to readjust. And my impact on the world, on whoever I come in contact with, still exists whether or not I'm going through turmoil with my relationship with my family, with my kid, whatever the case may be. I still show up as who I was asked to show up as, in my full self. Whatever gifts I have, that's what's supposed to be shared with the world, right? And so this time period was really the beginning of trying to unmask just this shroud of you're just a mom. And like, because so much of my relationship with my kid's dad has been very much based off of him being able to hold a shame thing over me. And when I say years, my daughter's 18. Okay. So for, let's say, at least 15 years of him being able to just come at me with all the ways that I'm not a good mom. And I'm good at everything I do, legit. And however somebody wants to take that it is what it is. Nobody is perfect, but I'm good at everything I do. There's, levels of like abuse and that I've never abused. This, it's just not a thing, right? But it is a thing for men to retaliate and create smear campaigns, especially men who are narcissists. This man literally has NPD, 1000%. So, but in order for me to be a part of this system that I've been a part of, the system with him, I had to be codependent. I had to be in fear. I had to be convinced that I was lacking something, and I had to move with that program. And I did for years, still trying to be awesome and, trying to have my light. But it was clear that the light was a thing that was a struggle. I remember there was an organization working with me. And I was, like teaching some classes or whatever. And they had supposedly organized something for me to be on a show. Tamara, Tamara, Tamara. Yeah. Anyway, so I remember talking to my kids about it. Supposed to be set up to be on the show, and I hadn't been on TV at this point in time. I've been on TV several times, at least like in our world now. Most of my TV interactions been on Zoom. Sometimes I go in person, but now I've been past that wall, so I know what it means or what it takes to do that or whatever. And it's not as complicated as you would imagine, but um, nonetheless, I had never been on a show or anything in that way, not in Florida, and I was really excited about it. And I remember a couple of years back, and I think it was either picking up the kids from their dad or whatever, and I'm like, I'm going to be on TV. And I remember him like straight up laughing out loud in my face in front of the kids consistently to make sure that like she's ridiculous in everything she does. Her career is ridiculous. She's nothing. She is nothing. That was a constant dialogue. Okay. So me trying to tell myself I am something, right? As I'm like losing friends, as people have slept with partners, I've cut off partners. So I am now starting this nomadic thing. So November of 2024, I was invited to a wedding in Virginia. And it's actually, the wedding was with people who were in my community, in my support group community, which was the most beautiful thing, because I don't want to have it always just be virtual. I want to meet my people, right? So I was very excited about that. So did this wedding. It was an awesome wedding too. It was a great wedding. And there's a picture of me holding a mug. What they did, one of the things that was so cute is over that previous year, as they were getting everything ready for the wedding, they would travel to different places, and everywhere they traveled to, they would get a mug from, either a new mug, a thrift shop, whatever the case may be. But they got mugs from like all over the place. And then as guests, we got to pick what mug we wanted, and we drank from the mug the entire night, your wine, your whatever, right? It was open bar. But so many endearing things. And it was very clear that this couple had community, because everyone who was there knew each other because of the couple. and it was so eclectic. So that was, I think, a nice reminder that you can build community outside of your given family, right? There is a hope for people who have the same spirit as you. Okay. So that was great. I went to the wedding by myself. I was single at this point. You know, like I said, all my partnerships have been done. Pretty sure I was, yeah, still had started. Yeah, because I'd broken up. I was no longer sexually active. It wasn't, this isn't like, oh my God, I was such a champion and I decided to like keep my body safe. I did, but realistically, there wasn't anyone that, especially in the state that I was in, that I wanted to be physical with, right? I didn't want to, just not something I was interested in. Um, and that was really lonely, right? Because that is also one of the ways that we connect. Some of us will connect physically, intimately. That is where we express our emotions. And definitely the people that I connected with, that is how they express their emotions. So it's like, if I can't connect with you this way, there was nothing to witness. So anyway, so at this point, I'm just saying, I had to figure out how to readdress my own pleasure, my own self-esteem. I had gotten the proceeds from the house. So at this point, my mind wasn't really buzzing, worried about like, how am I going to make money? And I also had my community I was building. So I was fine in that way. So anyway, but there was still a lot of crying. And that's just what happens. So I got more into my sensual yoga bag and started creating even more content around that. And I started getting, I think that's when I met, I feel like that is the time that I met someone at an event that I went to. It was a pretty high event. So it was a women smokers event, which is great. There was an artist there that I follow. She travels around the country and I'll go to different events that she was at. So that's actually how I ended up there. I didn't even know they had events like that, but now that I know, definitely love them. So I get there and there was someone who I went to school with, I did my master's with, was there. And then I got introduced to a person who was basically producing events with yoga workout people and combining it with her services and stuff like that. So she was in a different city than me, that was like 4 hours away or whatever, but we ended up talking and we were able to create an event. And it was an event that I never thought, or not never thought, but I just didn't know that it would come this quick. And I didn't know that it would come in the midst of all this drama. I'll talk more about the event, I think in the next video, but it was basically a sensual yoga smokers event. It was so good. It was so good. And it was good. And we did it. We eventually did it down the road. But it was something where I had been heartbroken from having to leave the studio it was my choice to leave the studio where I was at. And doing my work was definitely something that helped me to escape, right? So it was a bit of an escapism to really get into my creative bag, but it was a different cracking open to recognize that there probably is a level of isolation or aloneness for a certain period of time for me to really be the creative person that I can be, right? And so I was diving into that as well while moving around, while finding spaces that felt good for me. So I was just looking for Airbnbs that like spoke to me, that were beautiful, that I can make this like a nomadic year of almost like a vacation. You know, let me just figure it out. And also spaces that my son, who I still, continue to try to see, was able to come to, right? So there was always like a safe space and that type of thing. Okay. So during this time, this was the first Thanksgiving. He'd already done it for the birthday, but my ex would make sure that my kids didn't contact me on my birthday or holidays, Mother's Day, like on purpose it's like, what do we do to elicit pain? During all these things, there was a time where he would call my phone. Let's say it was like a random Tuesday. And he said to me, and this is why he's blocked. He says to me, you know how you had trauma as a kid? What? So try not to traumatize the kids the way that your mom traumatized you. When I say this is random, the kids weren't, it was just like nothing was going on. There was no happenings. And that's how it would be for months. It could be quiet. And he's sitting in the background somehow trying to figure out, how can I speak to her? how can I annoy her? This is a person who is obsessed with being attached, regardless of whatever smear campaign stuff he says about my character and who I am. And that's why if you're in that type of situation, it's very confusing because, you see one side of a person and you see how they engage you in what they want. They want control. They also want a level of intimacy they're not allowed because he's married, all these types of things, right? But they want to paint you as all the things that would disgust the community about you, just like making stuff up, right? So just saying random things to a point where I eventually realized he's building a case. And I remember saying this to my sister. I know that she knew this. He's back here trying to build some case for being able to, like, I don't know, take custody of the kids. I said this like 2 years before I understood like that's what happened. And it eventually did come out in a mediation. We had been going back and forth in mediations, not going back and forth, but he had been bringing me into court for random stuff, into family court from a 2013 divorce, y'all. It is now 2025. Okay. Whenever he feels like it, let me just drag him in court, have a full mediation, and then in the end of it, be like, I don't feel like it. Like, that's just the type of nonsense that he would do to make me spend money and to also show me the power that he had, right? So me stepping out of the paradigm of home ownership and having like to have a certain type of image and be this way and prove there, like, I can't do the proving thing anymore. It'll break you. The seat that I'm sitting in right now, I know a lot of people may not agree with this, but I'm now at the place of I've proven enough. I have raised functioning human beings, and there's people who I ain't even get into all that. Whatever. So whatever. I've proved enough. Okay. So as I'm doing these things, my publicist is back working with me. She took me on. She asked me to help her with a business venture, which also came with her continuing to kind of like promote my work and what I do, which is really beautiful. Like, we actually, we have a good relationship and a non-biased relationship where she can talk about or be about the value of the work and the belief in the work, without it being like a tit for tat, or I'm going to withhold this information from you, or I'm going to hold this over your head. None of that stuff. It's nice to be surrounded by people who are in alignment with your beliefs and want to really create the type of world that both of you, your families, and things like that want to live in. So we have a common idea and goal around liberation and sensual expansion, that type of thing. So I became her chief sexologist. And so I had that. I was a chief sexologist with them. I had my online platform moving around still. Thanksgiving, I'll put a picture of that. It was my first Thanksgiving I've ever spent like completely by myself. Went to a great restaurant. I think it wasn't Ruth Chris, it was somewhere else. Salt 7, but it was so good. And just managing like this idea of what it means to be not coupled. I've never been not coupled. I've never been without, like, none of this stuff. And it was hard and good. It's a weird space to be in, like going back and forth and like crying, like, oh my God, why am I this person who's by myself? And like, why can't you be by yourself? Like, you can actually afford to eat. You have clothes on your back. You have somewhere that you're going to go and sleep. And, lots of conversations about that, but also, why is that the only thing we're focused on? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? So continue to work and expand and that type of thing. Eventually at some point, my publicist had let me know that she got me a spot on the news and actually going in person, because I live in South Florida. So it was a South Florida news station. A lot of times I've been in Mexico and done news for like Tennessee type of thing, right? But I was actually in person here. So I was able to go in and do the thing. And that was great. That felt really great. I felt very free. I felt very free. I was calling the shots. I was still kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily battling with my kid's dad around my son would either be there or he wouldn't be there. So I kind of had to get used to coordinating with my son and then checking and double checking. And even then expecting that his dad might not be there or do whatever he needs to do to prevent me from getting the kids or whatever. Okay. So at this point we had that pending, what do I want to, that the case that he filed against me when I went to go get my kids, and he fled with my kids. Okay. So a month later, he went into the state attorney's office to file, I guess, misdemeanor charges or whatever against me. And then as a result of that, shortly after this time period, I then would have to do community service. Here's the thing. So I'm supposed to be going to court, and I'm ready to fight the court case. I was able to get an attorney. I talked to someone who was able to recommend me to somebody, and da 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 da. Okay. So I got an attorney for a non-astronomical amount of money. Now I kind of wish I maybe paid an astronomical amount of money. Being in the court system made it very clear to me that, straight up, like, being Black in the court system does not work. The judges are hardly ever anyone who looks like you, and even if they do, I don't know that it makes a difference, because if you've been there long enough, you have a bias that shows up for excuses that people make, and da 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 da. Unfortunately, all the people who are in court, a lot of them look like me, right? And so it was just a very interesting situation to be a person who, I know who I'm about. I know what I'm about. I know the hard work I've done, and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. The disrespect is deep. The disrespect from women who definitely don't look like me. I'm trying not to bring a whole race thing here, but women who are of a particular background, who is very prevalent in South Florida. Say that. Yeah. It was like constant humiliation ritual type things that would be going on. Me trying to make it to court, court dates being changed, like warrants being put out for me, all types of things kept happening. And here's the thing, with me trying to make sure that I'm continuing to see my son, because I miss my son. I love seeing my son. It would be a thing where it's like, well, I want to be able to do this thing, but guess what? There was this warrant that was put out for me, and I don't think that we should drive, or stuff. Anything that happens to a person's mom, like, it's going to impact them. And it's questionable how another parent can love their kids if they're depriving them of seeing a parent, right? And they know in their mind, in their actual mind, that everything that they've said is a lie, and that you actually are a good parent. Literally all you're doing is being like, kid, I don't care that you love this person, you can't see them because I have a vendetta. What? It doesn't. And it's not something that, like, if you go in court and you try to explain these things, it's very much, they all know the system. They unfortunately have done it for each other, where they're like, this is what we're going to do to build up this situation where you'll be able to get this money. Because that is actually what has happened. He is now filed for me to have to pay him child support after alienating me from the kids. So he can be like, look, she abandoned them. I can't even go on his property. I remember having to call an officer to do a wellness check because that's how much he was being ridiculous, where I couldn't see my kid. And the officer being like, why don't you just meet her? And he's like, I'm afraid for my safety. He's 6'2", by the way. I'm 4'11", whatever. I'm afraid. So the officer goes, why can't you just bring him to the police station and you guys can meet there? Da 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 da. Silence. There's nothing to say. He's like, oh, and so anytime there also be an interaction where I'm advocating for myself and my kids, what he would do would be like, oh, she has a pending so-and-so case, or the case that you filed against me, so that now every conversation that you have, oh, she's a pending CPS case. These are things that you just said and you did, so that when I try to assert my rights or whatever the case may be, you have now painted a character of like, this is a dangerous, irresponsible person. Like, you shouldn't be on her side. You should be on my side. We're all trying to save the children, which is not the case at all. So a lot of weird things happen, but it also made me have to reestablish the relationship and understanding of the relationship with my kids, and your kids being separate people, your kids not being beings that you own, right? They have their own thoughts, and it isn't just about like, it's the right thing to do, we should be together. It's, how does this feel? And also, I don't want to be a part of the control train. If both of your parents are constantly controlling, all you're learning is how to manipulate controlling people. And that's what my kid, like, when we have conversations, he's like, my dad won't do this, and so I have to say this to get him to do this. Like, you're manipulating your dad now. You're 15. Like, that's crazy. And I don't advocate for lying. I'm not a liar. His dad is a lawyer. Y'all also going to be mad. He's a liar. Like, that's what he does. He's not because he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer because he's a liar. Like, that's the type of work that he is a pathological liar. And you're teaching my kid how to lie, how to manipulate. For my daughter to say stuff like that, like to me when she left my house, when I had her leave my house, and I had her phone, and I'm like, why are you're texting, whatever, like, give me my phone. Oh, if you don't give me my phone, my dad's just going to bring you to court. My ex has normalized the harassment and abuse of whoever through using the system. And they are like a little brotherhood. And they all take up, even the fact that he was able to file something was like, they wouldn't even let me look at the case, by the way. I couldn't look at the details. They told me I couldn't talk about the details, which is not even correct. It's not legal. It's like, but we could tell her whatever, she'll believe it. Okay. So again, during this time, I'm trying to get myself together and not believe that I'm going to be cast aside. I'm like, these people are adults. They can see what's happening. They can see the manipulation. It didn't matter. So I had to really focus on, like I said, my work. So I went to work. I, did the news thing, whatever it is that would come up in articles, tapping more into relationship dynamics, sensual expansion, advocating for that in whatever I was publishing and working and that type of thing. Like I said, I was planning for the next yoga event, which was it was a great distraction for me to have, to see that could be something that could be brought to fruition, that I could take it out of like our city and I could do it anywhere. Because one of the things that had been hurtful for me after I had to leave the studio is I know that I had to leave because things that were being done by people that I had nothing to do with, I had no control over it. And I remember conversation with either one other person or myself being like, that's okay, because you could go to other spaces and people will appreciate you. They will love what it is that you're doing. And saying it out loud, I realized that I was affirming and I was manifesting that. And that is what I manifested, that there is love in other spaces, that was the truth that I had to continue to give to myself. That was the hope that I had to give to myself. And I'm glad that I did. I had some realizations. I think one of the pictures is me either crying. I must have seen some random thing, and I was always seeing some random thing. I was always seeing some bit of like a miracle. Being where I live, it's like, to me, it's like an open jungle, and there's houses in between the jungle, right? South Florida, it's like that. I started to go to all these neighborhoods in South Florida. I would move to different Airbnbs and eventually, different Airbnbs. But every neighborhood had like just a special thing. They just had a thing that they would do, that they would, like a creature that they would have. So after my dad had passed, it was, I remember I saw like peacocks. I kept seeing peacocks. I saw 6 peacocks over a 3-month period, February, March, or January, February, March. And it would be 2 peacocks every time I see them. I don't know how many times you guys have seen peacocks, but I don't often see peacocks, but I kept seeing peacocks. I kept seeing, and it would be maybe in this city, that city. I saw things of colors and textures and sounds that I had never seen before, because I'm a big walker, and just being out there with the butterflies. I literally see butterflies every single day. And I feel blessed for that. And that's kind of the thing, like having to reconnect to what else is there outside of the 4 walls, outside of the patriarchal system that we've created. What else is there outside of these duties that you say that I have? Like, what else is my life? Because the messaging was consistent. Like, you don't have a life if you don't have this. You don't have worth if you're not operating the way that we think you should be operating. You should be going to church. You should be teaching the kids this. You shouldn't be teaching any sensual anything. You should hide about all sensual things and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to live that way. But connecting to something else energetically, spiritually, all those things, gave me a new foundation of worth. I deserve to have a butterfly fly by me. I deserve to have that owl land on a bush right next to me. I deserve to fall upon a pride. So I had seen like the 6 peacocks. It was 2 at a time. And then one night I saw, my friend looks it up with me later, it was called a pride. There was a neighborhood where the trees were literally full of peacocks. I had never heard them before. They sound like a woman being dragged somewhere. I was like, what is that? And there was an owner, I was picking up a car or whatever, and this guy was telling me about the neighborhood and what happened. It was very interesting. but it's like it when you step outside of this box, this jail that maybe a narcissist or a community has created for you, they want to convince you that you are stuck here and you have to play by the rules if you want to be here and be more comfortable. We're all uncomfortable, but if you want to be more comfortable, you got to do this. Well, how about I just leave your box and I go to this big space over here where I don't have these stippies and that type of thing. Um, and so that's what I did. And okay. So I think that uh, getting on the news, like actually in person, was it was one of those miracles to me, honestly, where because I had been in and like continue to be in like this campaign of not worthy. Nobody wants to hear you. You shouldn't share things with people. You shouldn't, like, people don't want to know these things. They don't need to know these things. For me to be able to go on as a relationship expert, which is like, it feels funny. Like, how are you an expert? You know how we give like really good advice to other people and we could do a whole other thing. I'm still really good at giving people like giving advice for their relationships. I can still see the dynamics that are off. And I actually, in human design, I'm identified as a projector, right? So I could see a system and how to like recreate the system. And it is easier said than done. Like, well, this is what you should be doing. And why are you still messing with him? And why would you make that choice? And I don't actually typically ask people why in that way, like in an accusatory, more like curious, like, well, what are the steps that led up to the belief that you needed to do that thing? And the more that I'm getting into a space where I'm having to preach a thing, I want to be a thing. I don't want to be the person who's telling people to remove themselves from abuse and continue to be abused, right? Having to get quiet and recalibrate and remind myself of that truth for me, yeah, that was really really helpful to have to be inundated with that. Even if I was like researching for a new article, having to tap back into the truth that I understood, that I have lived, research, all the things, like maybe you should pivot the same way you're telling somebody else to pivot. And so a lot of that was being applied. I remember there was a thing, I was still kind of in that matrix, and I don't know if I'm ever going to like leave the matrix of validation. We kind of all want that. Um, I knew that I was fighting a battle with being, being illegitimate. And so with my son, I remember being like, look, at that time he was 14, like, look what I did, like whatever I would get, like I want to send it, like, see, they're wrong about me. Looking back, I'm like, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to send anything. And what would happen when I would like say I would send an article from like, I don't know, what's it called, news, like Today News, it would be big, it could be Cosmo, it could be anything, right? My son stopped even responding or saying anything because his phone was also being monitored. So when he called me, he would walk the dogs and he would sneak and call me. He had to show that he was not interested in a relationship with me until he was talking on the phone with me. That's like being with a horrible situationship or some man cheating on his wife. Like that's what it was like. Um, so that got stripped away in terms of like maybe I can get validation from here, but maybe because I didn't need validation from my 14-year-old, right? And it wasn't that I want him to tell me I'm good. I want to check in and make sure you don't think I'm bad now because people have been telling you for years that I'm bad. You don't think I'm bad, right? And so the quietness, when there was quiet, was always intentional. Like, yeah, she's bad. Make sure she knows we're gonna stick it to her and you're gonna help us do that. Whether or not you want to, maybe he did, it doesn't matter. But that was a lot to be in that space. And I would find that if I did, there are times in my life, if I did share things with people and that just, it was like, I don't know, what's the point? Like, why are you trying to be famous? I'm not even trying to be famous. I'm just living my life. Like, I'm just doing the things that I think are important. And if it gains traction, so be it. And I also don't want it to be quiet because if we're in a movement of liberation, you want to gain the traction. It's for the purpose of giving people, everyone who might come across you, permission. That's really all this is. It's all about giving permission. And if you are the one who's holding that permission torch, people who don't want other people to have permission to break out of their systems are going to try to do everything to tear you down. So you can't be that light and tell other people. You can also break free and create your own space. People do not want that. It's terrifying for them. So that is what I would say I was battling with back and forth. So the lessons, the biggest lessons from leaving the house and feeling like it's going to be better, I'm going to be free. That was true. I did feel more free not having to pay HOAs and a mortgage and all those things. I still had to pay money to live, a lot of money, right? But to know that also that I felt like nobody was watching me because I moved to a space where nobody could find me. Later found out that was not true. They were able to find where I live. But feeling like I had the autonomy that to create the idea around who I was and what I was going to do. I will go as far as to sell my house. I will go as far as to like sell a whole bunch of stuff. Everything that I owned in my house, I got rid of, other than a few bins of like clothes and things that I'm able to take with me if I could put it in a car. If it can fit in a car, it can come with me. Otherwise, I have stuff in a little storage. And then everything that I own, I got rid of, right? Like it's just a blank slate. So that lesson of, yes, you have the idea that you can have that freedom. And you can have that freedom. I think that is true. If you show yourself, you're able to maneuver and remove yourself from just like this one story, this one type of validation. It does feel better to be able to have that. This is not me telling people to run away, but this is me saying that if you are someone who has wanted to live alone, who wanted to live the way you wanted to live, maybe you didn't want a huge house, maybe you didn't want a stuffy house, do the thing. When you have the capacity to do it, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Go ahead and do that thing. That was definitely a pivotal part of my healing, for me to show myself visually that we can, yes, it takes work, but it's work that you can do. Your body is able to move. I can lift things still. I can communicate. I can hear. I can read contracts. There's things that I have the ability to do that have been, let's say, drowned out by constantly trying to prove one thing. You're this type of mother. Like, what? There's so much stuff that I can have, and I can also build for my kids to one day have, right? Or their kids to one day have. Recognizing, yes, you can feel better with that. You can have more freedom with it. It can be a part of your healing journey. And letting go of a typical type of validation to keep you going. I learned how to revalidate myself. I learned how to use the techniques that I teach, right? I learned how to meditate, and even meditate in ways that I hadn't meditated before. The beach was definitely still a pivotal part of being my sanctuary for me to be there, but walking became literally, it's like walking meditation. When I walk, I am tapping in, right? Getting quiet. So I don't even walk with other people. There are other people out there, but I have my headphones on and whatever soothing thing that I need to listen to. And I think, and I re-evaluate and reestablish the truth that I'm going to be living by. And that can change from day to day. Not meaning it flops back and forth, but it could be a new understanding. And that is okay when you give yourself permission to evolve. Like, you have permission to not just be, see, when we're proving something, you're like, I'm trying to prove that I'm these bullet points that you have in front of me, but that's not who you are, right? You're so many things. You can't be captured in bullet points. When you give yourself permission to just be exactly who you are and how you are, people either have to take it or leave it. And that is okay. It really is okay, because what doesn't work for you long term is you trying to be in a bullet points and your soul knows that's not who you are. You act out in different ways, or you try to find hyper freedom, right? In one way, you try to focus all your energy in one thing. I'll just get my freedom from there and I'll be miserable this way. It needs to be holistic when you're going on this like liberating journey. When, my friend said to me the other day, it's like, most people don't understand that concept of, the opposite of materialism, like being minimalistic, and it just, certain things that we have and we pay for every month, they're just not that important. It's just kind of like a time suck, a money suck, whatever. And I'm like, I'm not saying that I'm enlightened. I am enlightened, but I'm not I wasn't enlightened in such a way where I was like, that is just the better path. No, things had to be stripped from me. My reputation had to be stripped from me. My home, my money, my feeling of safety had to be stripped from me for me to reestablish a new thing, right? For me to have no choice but to give myself permission. It's like you have to do it, but you give yourself permission to consciously do it, to purposely change, right? To not be afraid of the change, not having the mission of how do I say the same? How do I say the same? How do I say the same? The mission changes to how do I surrender to this growth where it's not painful? I'm not like kicking and screaming. How do I surrender to a blossoming? Right. And that's where a lot of the mental space that I was in came from. So the next video, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the experience was in terms of like the legal stuff that was going on and having these realizations and also the money starting to look funny. So I will do that one tomorrow. So I am really proud of myself for getting up this morning and getting this done. I'm finding, yeah, my energy definitely is shifting. Yeah, I don't know if it's because it is wintertime and my body wants to hibernate, but I keep being called to not stop. I make like a video a day, basically like to get the whole thing out. I've been holding and sitting on things for so long. And they don't, today it doesn't even sound as dramatic as it was, which is a good feeling to know that I could speak about things and I'm not like, it doesn't elicit a tear. It doesn't elicit like, oh, the regret. I don't regret anything that happened because everything that happened helped me see the people who were around me and it helped me see me more. And there's going to be more shenanigans because that's kind of what life entails. I think that you could have less shenanigans. You could be open to less shenanigans and therefore receive less of them. But you can be prepared for them. There's something to be said about having the skill of being on your own and being able to sink into a quietness, sink into an internal temple. Then nothing can get to you, right? Like you can go back, get your truth, get your strength, and come back out more resolute with how you're going to engage people. It doesn't mean they're going to like it or that they're going to make it easy, but you will get the outcome that you have asked for and that you have surrendered to. And this was a constant practice of just surrendering and just keep going. Okay. So I will be back for our next vlog soon. And yeah, that's it. Talk to you later. Bye.